What's going on, STR Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sjogren, here as always with my main man and brother from another mother, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. What's up, E?
My brother, it's so good to see you. As you guys can see, for those of you that watch us on YouTube, I am back in my office in Boca. How I miss the States, bro. It is just such a convenient country to live in. My house was in the low 60s yesterday because I had missed AC. I've been sleeping all month with this little fan. So I woke up this morning, there were little penguins walking around my house because I think the house was set to like 64. just I hadn't slept under blankets in like a month, and I was just like so happy. I'm like, oh my god! And then I ordered Instacart when I woke up at 5:30 this morning. At 7, it was outside. I'm like, dude, God bless this country because it is just so convenient, bro. It's just such a like convenient country for like just life. Like Wi-Fi works fast and everything else. Again, like Italy is about the living and the quality of life is definitely different, definitely higher in certain perspective, but just the convenience and the just done for you aspect of the States is something that like I've become so accustomed that I miss it. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful thing.
no. And I missed Florida. So I got down here yesterday. And Kristen was like, I forgot how much we miss it down here. Obviously it's hot, it's humid right now, but it's just good vibes down here, man.
It's
I don't
nice.
think Caden's left the pool in the last 24 hours. I woke up this morning to him being like, "Can we go in the pool?" It was like 6 a.m. I'm like, dude, give me a minute here.
One second.
Yeah. Let me make a coffee. But yeah, man, I love it. And I'm excited for the episode for the listeners today. So this is a good one. This is somebody that I've been friends with for a few years now. If you follow him online, you know Mike Elefante. He really blew up on TikTok and Instagram the last few years. And he's just a really good dude. I've become good friends with him and his wife Jill and their cute little family. He's just really a good person. Like I really just enjoy hanging out with him. Good vibes. And he's done some really cool stuff, man. And what I love about him and what they've done is they keep it simple and they explain everything. They're just very transparent with their numbers. And, they own 8 properties that they were able to leave their job after 4, and they just focus on nice higher end properties. And now he has a bunch of other business ventures that, are all vertically integrated and they're just living their best life, man, just doing their thing. And it's just very relatable. Like he said in the episode, we're nothing special. I'm not that smart. I just focused and lived below my means for a couple of years and just kept rolling it in. And then by the 4th one, we had enough to just quit our jobs, man. And we got into some of his stories around traveling in an RV with his wife for a year. And
Yep.
I had to ask him how that went because in my mind that sounds amazing, but I'm sure it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. But
Yep.
they're living the Airbnb dream, man, of financial independence.
No, he was just fun also because I think sometimes people think that it's all about the goals. And what he talked to us about is kind of like now is more of like, and this is something we've been harping on quite a bit. It's just the lifestyle. And it's like, okay, like what goals can we like what are we looking after and how does this impact our lifestyle? And not looking at things isolated as to like, okay, I'm gonna get to this goal and then what? It's just this like holistic way of looking at life and goals that I think is just so much more sustainable, so much more fun because again, it doesn't you're not chasing. It's just who you are. It's just part of who your being is, right? Yeah, he was super enjoyable and like super chill, like just super chill. And I'm like, for somebody that has accomplished that much, you would think that he just has this like very like jittery kind of energy, and instead it's just mellow, like mellow Mike, and maybe is the last name Elefante in Italian means elephant, right? And elephants are very like just mellow, calm animals. And maybe it's that. I don't know. But it was super enjoyable.
Love it. Well, let's get into this week's episode with Mr. Michael Elefante. All right, Mike Elefante, welcome to the show, man. Glad you're here.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. Super, super pumped.
We were talking offline. This has been a long time coming. I was thinking, I'm like, I don't know how we haven't had him on the show yet. But anyway, we're glad you're here, dude. So
Yeah, same.
for the 3 people on the internet that don't know who you are, let's let's dive into your backstory, dude, because it's been fun watching your journey over the last what five years or so. And
Yeah.
what you and Jill have done is pretty special. And I think what you guys have achieved is really the dream that most people have. You know, working that corporate grind to get to where you guys are at now. So how did this whole thing get started for you guys?
Honestly, it started really out of the pain got big enough to where I just, not quite as a painful story, I guess I should say, as yours, or like as motivating as yours with your son and everything. However, I played baseball through college, and then once that, passion kind of came to a screaming halt, wasn't able to play professionally, went into the workforce, and I just got my first taste of, a literally gray cubicle, desk phone, laptop, go pound the phones. And I was calling strangers I didn't care about, selling products I didn't care about, or setting appointments for people that, whatever, I truthfully didn't care about. So I'm like, man, so I just like felt this like numb feeling and sensation. Like I didn't wake up with like a vibrant energy for life. And it wasn't like depression, but I could see how people have that go through the motions type state I didn't want that to perpetuate till I was 60 or 70 years old. So for me, that pain and fire grew big enough to where I was like, hey, if I don't do something to make a change, create passive income, or at least find something I'm passionate about, then I might be miserable, and I don't want that. It'll affect my relationships, all that stuff. So fast forward a few years, I was like, well, maybe if I just make more money, I'll be happier. So I did that. I got a couple promotions, worked some side gigs, changed jobs, changed companies 3 times, 3 different cities, Dallas, Austin, and Nashville. Finally started to make more money, but that feeling never went away. So I realized, okay, it's not the money, it's probably like how I'm spending my time. So if I could still make the money and have time freedom, that's what, I figured out everyone's kind of after, right? Financial freedom. That's what it was all about. So got into short-term rentals because I didn't want to do $200 a door and scale to 50 to 100 doors to hit, 10 or 20K a month in cash flow. It seemed like a really long road and frankly daunting. And I know I'm not a lazy person, but sometimes I feel like I am. So I was like, that seems like a lot of work for a couple $100 a month. So that's when I stumbled across short-term rentals when I was in Nashville one time staying at a place. I just started diving into the numbers and I was like, man, if you can really figure this out, I feel like you can make a lot of money with this. So long story short, we just got our first property in Nashville, Tennessee. Within 3 months, we were set to cash for like 7 grand, like profit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just need 1 or 2 properties and I could literally quit my job and I'll be like, I thought I was a genius at the time. Oh my gosh. And then liquidated our 401k and IRA to fund the second one. And that's when COVID hit and we had 40 grand in cancellations. That was like a gut punch, but we like steamrolled through it and just, this is what we want to do. Fast forward 12 months from our first investment, became financially free with just 3 properties. I'll never forget that day. It was November 2020. We netted like 14 grand and travel hadn't even like really come back yet in one of the markets we were in. And then got a fourth property and then quit our jobs within 16 months, hopped in a camper van and traveled for a year. Kind of like lived that dream that a lot of people have in the back of their mind. So it was fun, just crazy whirlwind of a couple years. But, for me, it's just like, I think it just goes to show if you just go 2 feet in the deep end with something, and if your pain's big enough and your desire for whatever it is that you want in life is big enough, you can accomplish it. Because my wife and I are just completely regular people, regular childhoods, regular jobs, not making a ton of money, and just kind of worked our way up W-2 wise and just started funding properties left and right as fast as we could. And we never looked back. So today we own 8 properties personally, under contract for a ninth. Started to get into the larger, higher end STR space. They do really well cash flow wise. And then a bunch of other businesses kind of sprouted out, from that, which I never expected. But I think what's cool is once we had the time freedom and the option to pursue something that we enjoyed without the pressure of making money, I think that's where entrepreneurship can really explode. So that's what I've been focused on the past couple of years is continue investing, but build businesses that are all vertically integrated in the short-term rental space. And I said it wouldn't be long-winded. It kind of was, but yeah,
No, it
that's
wasn't
kind of
bad at all,
where we
dude.
were, how we got there. And yeah, man, I love short-term rentals.
So I'm curious, and then I'll let you dive in because I know he has questions. I have 2 questions. One, I'm curious, how was that camper van experience? Because in my mind, that still sounds so amazing. But I'm very curious, having you done it for a year, how that actually played out. And secondly, what are some of those offshoots now? Because you got a lot of stuff going on. And I'd love to hear that, especially from more of the experienced folks, because I'm a big believer in the power of focus, which you guys did for years, built that thing, like you said, you got that dialed in. Then it's like, okay, now we have the time to think about the next thing. I see a lot of people do the shiny object thing, and I suffered from that for years before I got into all this. So,
Hmm.
first the camper though, I got to know, man.
Yeah. Well, Mike and E, what do you guys see? What do you, if you close your eyes and you're in a camper van, living the camper van dream, what do you think a day looks like?
You don't want me. You don't want my answer. I am not the camper van.
He does
All
not want
right.
to
Well,
do
let
it.
me
I
hear some
picture
Yeah.
like
sugar.
me, like the kids laughing, having a good time, driving through the mountains and seeing canyons and all this stuff. And then in reality, I'm just thinking, one of the kids is having a meltdown. My wife's handling that, like telling me to slow down, like things just going bananas. But in my mind, it goes amazing the whole time.
All I can tell you is I imagine waking up sweaty and hot because the AC is not working and the sun is hitting, and then some random like park trooper knocking because you have the wrong pass, and waking up all of the kids, and then you take off and you have a flat tire. That's kind of like my imagination of like a camper.
Yeah. Well, you guys, your combined answers kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's like 75, 80% of the time, it feels truly what it's caped up to be, like ultimate freedom. Like you pare down everything. We sold a lot of our we gave away a lot of our clothes to Goodwill, sold all the furniture in our home, moved out, and just went into like this tiny little camper van. And that was like the most freeing thing ever, because like you didn't have a home to worry about, an apartment. It was literally just all your possessions in a car. Virtually no expenses other than gas and the camper van payment, which was very minimal. And then most of the time, if we had a good camp spot, we would wake up and have the coffee and the view, and it was incredible. But the other 20 to 25%, it's rough. I mean, you're roughing it for sure, especially if you're doing the whole off-grid thing, not like a big fifth wheel. Waking up sometimes you are a little sweaty, but we had AC most of the time. It was okay. And then the honestly, the biggest hurdle or struggle was finding somewhere to sleep in most states. Utah and Colorado, you could pretty much find an awesome camp spot literally right off a highway. But Pacific Northwest, California gets a little bit more, difficult. So we spent many times in a pinch, like 10 p.m. at night, just trying to find somewhere, slept in a Cracker Barrel parking lot. Great. Cracky Bees is the spot though, if you need it in a pinch to pull off. It's always clean, comfortable, quiet, usually by a hotel or two. And there's people in vans, RVs. They have RV parking so people can sleep there. And you wake up and you can, to the smell of bacon and pancakes, and you could use a bathroom there. So anyways, yeah, camper van life was cool for the most part. Got to see a ton of national parks, hiked like 400 miles. And the second question, all the other stuff. So very similar to you guys, right? I mean, started teaching this stuff naturally online for free and didn't expect anything of it. More or less just sharing what I was learning and how much money we're making in this market and that, and how we're doing it. So people just started reaching out to me, and I started these little kind of like network communities, not necessarily mastermind communities, and then was doing one-on-one calls for free. And then people said, how much can I pay you to coach? So that's how the coaching got started. And that has evolved many different iterations over the past 4.5 years to what it is today. But it's awesome. I get to employ around 15 or 16 or so people in the coaching business, and we've helped a ton of people just like you guys have, right? Get at least their first property, hit financial freedom. It's just like life-changing stuff, and I'm passionate about it. I love it. And then from that, I've coached people who then came to me with business ideas, which is fascinating, right? On things I would never do on my own or want to do, but they were good at it and they wanted to partner with me because I have like the personal brand. I can help accelerate the business growth. So that's what I was good at. So we had Home Team Vacation Rentals was founded just over 2 years ago. Actually, our 2-year anniversary was August 1st. And we manage over 300 properties across the country. We do a done for you service where we go find properties. And then I have a design company, Summerlid Designs, where we design properties all across the country. We design currently, I think we'll do over 300 or 330 properties this year designed. And then a few other things as well that we're working on. But those are like the main businesses, I'd say.
Love it, dude. Love it. Go ahead, E. I've been hogging the combo.
No, so that was definitely one of my questions. What the business that came out of it is one of my favorite things about real estate in general, investing, is the possibility of vertically integrating stuff. So I went to Italy, and that's what I was talking about to one of my business partners there. I'm like, dude, we can literally do a one-stop shop and create 4 or 5 different avenues in this one business. I love when you kind of at the beginning of the conversation, you talked about the camper was one of the dreams that you had. I would love for us, before we talk more business, because I know you're working on something that you're excited yet kind of scared about, which we'll get into after. What is the next dream? So what is the next dream that keeps you guys kind of hustling?
Yeah, I mean, I try and stray away from like monetary dreams, if you will, or
Oh yeah, yeah, experience
like
dreams. That's what I meant.
end
Yeah.
state. My wife and I are really just after what lifestyle do we want? How do we want to spend each day currently or in the future with our, growing family? And then how can we build businesses around that lifestyle that only elevate and not hinder what we want in life, so they can kind of exacerbate what we already want to do. So if we want total freedom and we love to travel, how can we build businesses that elevate that experience or go on better travel or maybe pay for friends or family to come with us and have it be, 10x the experience. So ultimately that's what we're after. I think in terms of business goals, I know I said it wasn't necessarily like a static end state, for example, like getting into the best shape of my life and then like now what? But I would love to exit one or two of the businesses in the next 5 to 8 years and have a really nice exit and, probably just like kick back a little bit more. I think in a perfect world, I'd love to wake up. I love slow mornings. I usually don't take an appointment before 10 or 11 in the morning. So wake up, read a little bit, have coffee, chat with my wife, then play with my kids for as long as I want. If we're going to build a house here soon, the next couple of years on 50 acres, not too far from where we currently live. And we're going to have a garden, maybe homestead a little bit, and maybe even homeschool the kids. So just looking for more like passion projects at that point, you know?
I mean, that to me was the perfect answer as to what the next dream is. Because again, like I wasn't, because the business is a means to something, right? And I think somebody like you that has done so much already understand that it's more and more just a means to getting somewhere else, right? But then there is always the questions like, what is it for? And I'm fresh off coming home from Italy, and my grandpa is 96, and that's one of the things that when he was lucid, was one of the things that I asked him was like, what do you think about now? And he just thinks about just just the day, and he's like, that boat is beautiful. I'm like, do you want to go on one? And he's like, no, I just appreciate it. And you're just like, so we can just sit here and appreciate things without needing to make it about anything, right? And I mean, 50 acres has a lot of appreciation potential on it because, like, you can do pretty much anything you want on it. So this big exit that also sounds like quite a lot of fun, and it sounds like you have really learned how to empower people. And that's something that Mike and I have talked a lot about in recent weeks. So I would love for you to share, because I don't think you were always a great leader, or maybe you were just one of those people that's naturally born amazing at leadership. But what some of the things that have helped you kind of like elevate yourself from like, hey, we have 3 Airbnbs to now I'm coaching for free to now I have 16 people coaching under me and I have 300 units under management here. We designed 3 to 325 units over here. You look pretty relaxed, so I don't think you're doing a lot of in those businesses. So walk us through how you elevated that.
Yeah. No, honestly, great question. I think the biggest thing is when I first started investing or had my own business, I thought I was an entrepreneur, but ultimately what I came to the realization is I'm a solopreneur and I can only run so fast and so far by myself until either I burn out and I'm miserable or things start to break and the business suffers and it collapses or you just plateau, right? So something like the mindset of, oh, I could just do it better myself. Like I definitely had that inherently, even if I did not want to admit it until I started hiring other people who were frankly, I realized were way better at certain tasks than I was, sales, customer relationship management, all that good stuff, guest communication, owner communication. Once I outsourced those to people who were passionate about it and good at it, and I paid them well for it, my life got so much better. The business is like 10x within the first 3 months, or at least, a few of them did, and then all of them within the first year. So it's like you can only run so fast and so far alone. I think that's like the biggest piece of advice I have for somebody. And the second thing to that, and this kind of coincides with the first, is get a mentor, whether it's free or paid for, and whatever you're pursuing. It doesn't have to be short term rentals or real estate. Pay someone who's done it before and is where you want to be. I used to always say I'd rather just figure out on my own. I'm going to read 10 books, watch YouTube, listen to 100 podcasts. But like you might start to learn and feel like you're the expert, but you're not really, right? So the minute I started paying money, and a lot of money, for mentorship, I saw results that were like unthinkable to my brain prior to working with those people. So that was like the biggest thing for me. So one, hire people, good people that can do stuff better than you can, help you run faster and longer. And then two, work with somebody who's done it before, because you're going to get immediate ROI from whatever you pay them.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the podcast. We will get back to it in just a minute, but I wanted to share something with you about our Short-Term Rental Secrets Facebook community. If you haven't joined it yet, I've got 4 reasons why you should. First off, it's completely free. Second, we have some amazing resources in there. First, you're going to get our deal analyzing tool that I personally built and we have used to analyze thousands of deals all over the world for our mastermind students at this point. I want you to have that completely free, because the worst thing that you can do is get into a bad deal. It's very hard to fix your way out of a bad deal. So you got to know your numbers going into that. And I've got a free training that you can use to teach you how to use that tool effectively. The second thing is I put together a 6-part course on our Casper method on how I build businesses, all the way from the beginning, how to set up my foundation, how to set up my entities, all the way through getting properties, automating, launching, scaling, hiring people. It is our unique Casper method that I use anytime I'm building a business. You'll have that completely free. Third, we have a live training every single week where it's either myself or one of our SDR Secrets coaches that are giving you free content, free actionable steps, and a chance for you to jump on and ask your questions to us directly, completely free. And the last, and arguably one of the coolest things that we started doing lately, is we're posting free co-hosting leads in that group every single day. So my team is going out and farming for these leads and posting them in the group for free for you to go and work those leads. And as part of that free training course that's in there, we'll show you how to go out and what to say, how to close those deals, how to onboard them, everything. So again, if you haven't joined the Short-Term Rental Secrets Facebook community yet, head over there, click the join button. It's completely free. I'll see you on the inside. And now let's get back to the episode. Can't agree more. I did a webinar last night when we got down here talking about how we can run our portfolio in less than 4 hours a week. And really, for me, it's less than 2 hours at this point. And everybody online is like, that's BS and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, here's exactly how I did it. And I show them, here's all my SOPs. Here's this, here's that. And I was like, but the real key is the people that I have on my team. Because unless you work with humans on your team, no AI, no software, no tech stack, no none of that is going to actually give you time freedom. If you have to have notifications turned on this thing, you do not have time freedom. You just don't, right? And to your point, my life got way easier when I finally let go of the reins and I brought on some A players and just let them do their thing. In all the different businesses that we have, same story. So I love that. And you and I are in one of those masterminds together with people that are doing stuff at very high levels in different avenues. And I remember the first time I went to one of those events, I thought I was doing pretty good. And it was a pretty big shock where they're like, yeah, we did that last month. I'm like, okay, well, I'm in the right room. Right.
Yeah. You never want to be, well, it feels good to be the big dog in the room, but like that's not where the growth occurs. Now I get like I used to love being in the rooms where people ask me stuff and I like feel like I knew the answers and they were getting value from it, because I love helping people inherently. I just want to like teach or coach. But then I realized if I'm in that room and people are coming to me, that I'm in the wrong room for my own personal growth or business growth. I want to be in the room where I'm like, wait, what did you just say? What are you guys talking about? I don't know what that is. How much money did you make last month? Or you only worked an hour a week? Or how did you do that? Like who's on your team? How do you structure those things? That's where that untapped growth comes in for sure.
Yeah. I'd love to ask you both a question on that point, just to help people maybe put some stuff into understanding. Because I agree with both of you, right? But I also know from experience, when I am just in rooms that are too much above me at all times, and I'm not in a great headspace mentally, sometimes my old self, my old paradigm comes up and it's like, you ain't doing nothing in life. Versus sometimes I'm in the rooms where I'm the one that go into, and definitely I get an ego boost, but then the ego gets too big, and sometimes I have a hard time leaving the room because my head has gotten so big that I can't leave that room anymore. And then there's times that I love just being in rooms where people are we're running together. So maybe it's some parts of the course, somebody is a little bit faster than I am, but then we make the corner and I'm a little bit faster than they are. So now, how do you guys kind of play that game? How do you balance it? So do you do one third, one third, one third? Do you do, hey, I need to give more, and then I go into rooms where I'm much more out of my comfort zone? How do you balance that?
I think it's a mix. Mike, I think you probably agree. I mean, I want to personally, I want to pay for the mentorship and the mentorship that I need in order to elevate to XYZ level. And a lot of times with those same groups that you pay for is you get the community aspect, which is why I love the mastermind community thing, right? Because you're going to get the mentorship, but you're also going to be in a room with other people that some are doing more, some are doing less, some are running at the same time. But the cool thing about it is you can sit at a table and actually talk openly about business, life, where you're actually struggling with. And it's very relatable because you're all kind of, whether it's the same business or not, you kind of have mostly the same problems and similar aspirations to some extent. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good balance, but that's why I love those rooms. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a different level to it as well. And one of the reasons why I like, one of the groups that Mike and I are a part of, there's certain requirements to even get in that room. Like there's a minimum threshold from a business income standpoint and experience standpoint to even qualify to get in those rooms. And at the beginning, if you're not at that level, it may turn you off. But there's a reason for that because the conversations that are happening in that room are going to be so far over your head, to E's point, that it's more debilitating than helpful. And the people that are in that room want to have conversations, to Mike's point, about, hey, we're all having challenges around certain things, whether it's people, marketing, sales, fulfillment, operations, whatever it is. Those conversations are more in alignment. And the reason why I continue to pay to be in those rooms is, one, like you said, for the mentorship from somebody that's already light years ahead of me, that's been through what I'm trying to get through right now. And then two, having a place to go to talk through those issues, because most people in your inner circle, likely right now, especially if you're new or fairly new in the real estate game, most people are going to tell you you're crazy and they can't relate to you at all. Like, I want to be in rooms with Mike and other people that are doing big stuff that are like, hell yeah, dude. Like, I love that. Here's how I would look at this issue. Not like, you're crazy. You need to relax. Why do you want to do that? That sounds nuts. Right. It's just people that are thinking way bigger than the average person in your neighborhood, most likely. And so it's a balance, to your point, of, I love teaching, right? I love giving back and doing all those things, but I also need to keep filling up my cup every year so that I continue to level up and continue to grow. So for me, it's usually like 3 to 4 events a year that I'll go to, and being in certain communities and mastermind groups that will continue to level me up in certain areas. And it's never on, I don't want to say never. 90% of the stuff that I go for is around leadership and mindset. Because a lot of the tactical operational stuff, that's what I'm paying people to figure out at this point. Like, I don't need to know how to push buttons and run ads or dynamic pricing and all those things. I understand how to do it, but it's not my highest and best use. If I want to grow and have a 300% return or a 300 growth rate, like Mike's talking about, he can't be the one in there pushing the buttons. It's just not possible. It's around leadership and inspiring people and being able to cast a vision and be a big enough leader that people actually want to follow. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to be around you. Nobody's going to jump on that bandwagon.
Love that. So we had Lame on last week, and one of the things that he said at the end of the show was like, look, the people that you see online are not that much different than you. They're not that much smarter than you, and they're going through their own thing and their own kind of like hardships and struggles, which is something that I love, because I think the biggest thing that we can do as educators and leaders is just sharing the fact that, like, yo, I'm a human being also in this human experience with you. And maybe the outside looks like this, but the reality is that I'm still kind of going through things and I'm still pushing my own envelope, right? So you said at the beginning of the show off air that you're working on something that has you a little bit nervous. Do you want to walk us through what that is, and where the nerves are coming from, and where is the excitement in that? Walk us through all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, we're launching our first investment fund to tackle, really have the optionality to tackle a few different types of investments, but luxury or high end short term rentals. and our goal is to raise 20 million or up to 40 with Fund One. And the biggest challenge for me is just that I've never raised and invested other people's money before. So there's some nerve. I got, I'm confident in my ability through the roof, but I'm not losing my own money. Like I feel like responsible for making sure these are like home run investments for people. Right. So there's a little bit of nerve there. Then two is more just something new. It's uncomfortable for even someone like me who online it may like, oh, he like got a lot of stuff figured out. It's like I'm not that smart. So like I still have to go learn how to do certain things if I want to do something new, a new challenge. So like I don't the fun space was brand spanking new to me. So we hired, someone to help us part-time, help get the fund set up, walk us through like typical operations, how does investor relations work and look like, how distributions work for investors, all these things that like I really just don't, it's like almost painful to me. But I know once we figure it out, I think it's not going to be quite as scary. The exciting part is, being a part of 20, 50, $100 million portfolio, even if I don't own 100% of it, right? But I'm the GP, and I think that's where I think it could get really special. And I've spoken to a lot of people, like Brandon Turner being one of them, and why he chose to go the fund route with Open Door Capital, and just learning what his goals and visions were. And he's like, same thing for him. He's like, I just had to figure it out. It was kind of like new to me. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, okay, if it feels like that way for Brandon Turner, who's like, I put him on a pedestal, then it's okay for me to feel like that. It's okay for you as the listener to feel like that with your first rental property or whatever you're trying to tackle, your first business. But you're never going to get to the top of the mountain if you don't at least take that first step.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the honesty of that answer and the candidness of it, right? Because one, I think it's a super relatable thing. Like taking other people's money, we all understand it. Like logically, it's like, hey, I am kind of tapped, and that's what we were talking about with Lame too. I'm like, eventually you're gonna run out of money. You either humble yourself to what your goals are, or if you want to continue to grow, you gotta change your mindset around who you are as a person and include the fact that you are a syndicator, money raiser, in understanding that that's a necessary tile towards a step towards your next future. And I think most people don't realize that in the different levels, this is just going to keep happening. And the only thing that you can control is what you said. It's just like, I know it's going to suck. I'm embracing the suck. I know it's not going to be sucky forever. And I'm going to hire people to teach me.
Yeah. And I know as long as we do well, which I'm confident we will, I think it's a great opportunity for investors because they get diversification into short-term rentals and ones that, properties that 99% of the population is not going to choose to invest in or can invest in or compete with. That's where I think it's exciting. We're very experience based properties. And it's also going to be a higher cash flow type opportunity where most funds or syndications are banking on the future value of the property upon exit, not so much on cash flow. So I think that's where the fund can be different. And that's what I'm excited about. So yeah, like you said, it's just getting out of my comfort zone and just doing it and executing.
That stuff never goes away. And I'll pivot here in just a second. But I did a public speaking course with a mentor of mine years ago, and he gave me some great advice. He said the butterflies never go away. You just teach them how to fly in uniform, and you just deal with it and point them in the right direction. So anytime you're going to do something big and new, they'll be there. Just push through it, and that's the only way that you're going to grow. The last thing that I really want to hit on, and I think a huge lesson that people can learn from you, and I'd love some from tips from you on this, is the power of building a personal brand. And I don't know if you did that intentionally or not from the beginning, but you've consistently built a great personal brand that's just authentic to you guys. And that has opened up a lot of doors for you and has allowed you to your set. Like now that's a superpower for you that if somebody comes to you and wants to partner on an interior design business or a property management business or whatever, you have a huge following of people because you've built a brand that puts rocket fuel on any business or fund or anything that you touch. So could you walk us through that and maybe some tips on building that personal brand and also maybe some tips on blocking out some of the noise as you're growing that?
Yeah,
Because
there's
we
a
have
lot.
somebody in our seven-figure boardroom who had something go viral, and she almost quit social media because of all the trolls that came out of the woodwork. And I was like, who cares, dude? Like, who cares? But I'm
Yeah.
sure you've dealt with that.
Yeah, you become more numb to it. I mean, I literally have people tell me to kill myself, commit like, "You go jump off a bridge." Literally say, "If I were you, I'd kill myself." I did a pretty funny, like, reply video to that. I don't know if you saw that, with the coffee mug that says, "Have a nice day," and as you take a sip, the bottom of the mug has a middle finger on it.
Oh,
No,
that's
You
hilarious.
gotta
I
get
didn't,
one of
but
those
that's
mugs,
awesome.
man. You gotta send it to the person in your seven-figure boardroom because it would just make them feel good, you know? But it bothers you at first, but, like, at the end of the day, if you don't have people hating on you, you're probably not doing it big enough yet. That's a sign that you're growing. And if you ever have you need some reassurance on that one video, for example, that person had a lot of views, look how many people liked it and didn't say anything. Usually people who shout from the rooftops are people that are upset about something else and they just gonna come take it out on you on the internet. It just makes no sense. But yeah, personal brand, like, I never really had the intent of building businesses with it. Quite frankly, when I started trying to learn about passive income and investing, followed people like Graham Stephan, like a lot of others, and I just resonated with him because he was a younger dude, seemed normal, worked a job as a realtor, had some other stuff going on, and he just started talking on YouTube. And then he was sharing, "Here's how much I make on YouTube." That was the turning point for me, and what clicked with me when I eventually said, "Here's how much I make on Airbnb." And that's what helped me grow the following because it was just transparent and authentic me just sharing with what I was doing. But yeah, I mean, you can't even put a price tag on a personal brand because it's something that was only going to compound and grow and snowball bigger and bigger over time. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is if you can figure out how to put a business or businesses behind it that align with your brand, that's where things can become really special. Like, the amount of money I've been very fortunate, right? And worked hard for it, but very fortunate that I'm making today. I would have spat my coffee out 5 years ago if you even brought that up to me then. Like, I would like vomit and I would call bullshit. But it's just kind of cool how things evolve over time. I will say this: you'll never know what could have been if you've never tried, right? So you have to try and don't give up after day one. Hormozy talks about this all the time because everyone else is going to be right day one. They're going to come back a month later. Everyone else is going to come back and they're going to be right. A year later, they're probably still going to be right. But a decade later or 2 decades later, they're probably not going to be right if you were continuously putting in those efforts along the way. And then they're going to be like, dang, what if I did that? What about me? Must be nice. You know, so people see the fruits of the labor, but they don't always see the years of effort it took to get there. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, effort wise and strategy wise, you know, personal brand, business, whatever it is that it takes to get there. Rarely are things ever truly an overnight success. Kind of like the Olympics. Those people, wow, they're amazing, right? Simone Biles, but she's been training for decades, doing what she does every single day to become who she is today, to show you in like a few days every 4 years what's possible. So
I watched her little mini documentary on Netflix the other day. It's pretty good, pretty powerful. One last thing too, you inspired me. So I got a Rivian for my rental
Oh,
this
yeah.
week,
What'd
and
you get?
I'm kind of digging it. I got the SUV one, the R1S. I got to get used to it though. You hit the pedal on that thing and she goes like a rocket ship.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
So the one thing that you guys don't know about Mike Sugarin, is that anytime Mike rents a car, it's a problem because then he gets home and he's like, I kind of want this car, and then he ends up buying
I
whatever
use my
car,
vacations to test
whatever
drive cars that I'm
whatever car
considering
he
buying.
rents.
That's
So he
funny you
doesn't
say
like to
that.
vacation a lot because
My
he
wife
buys
started
cars.
doing that. She's like, "I'm going into my mom era, but I don't want a minivan. I'm never doing that." So started test driving like Cadillac Escalades and like the extended version. How does it drive? How is it like with our gear with our baby? It's kind of funny. So we test drove that and a couple other cars, and it's smart because you can actually like see how it feels when you're actually doing stuff that you would normally be doing, right? But that's
The
great.
last 3 vehicles I've rented on Turo, and then a couple weeks later they
Exactly.
tend to end up in my driveway. But
Every time.
um,
But we do respect Jill for not wanting a minivan. I do respect that. I think it's great that she understands that she's gonna keep her style up, even with the
Yeah.
kids and the gear and
Probably
everything else.
trading in my Rivian though.
yeah, what are you going
Yeah,
with?
I love it, but I ordered the Cybertruck like 4 years ago or something, or 3 years ago, and it's finally getting delivered sometime this year apparently. So I'll probably swap it out. Main reason I just miss a full size truck. I do like the Rivian. I just wish there was a little bit more cab space.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I wanna be respectful of your time. Before we get into the last question, where can the listeners learn more about you and all the amazing stuff that you got going on?
Honestly, the best place is probably Instagram, just at Elefante6, or Michael Elefante. Just make sure it has a little. Thank goodness Meta does the blue check mark thing that you can pay for now, because there's a lot of crap accounts out there. But yeah, Instagram's cool. I post a lot there. Interact with me, respond to all DMs, and yeah, everything that you want to know about me is there. Or I'll tell you if you ask.
Love it. Love it. Well, the last question that we ask all of our guests is, what is your number one secret to success with short-term rentals?
The number one secret to success is definitely it. So you'll probably laugh at this. If you've watched the movie Field of Dreams, the saying is, if you build it, they will come. My theory with short-term rentals is, of course, you're going to invest based on data and all that, and see what other people are doing. But my thing is, like, if you build it right, they will come. So you don't want to just invest $1 million just for the sake of it and hope, right? Some of it's data driven, but you do have to be part visionary if you want to get a property that brings in $400,000 or $500,000 a year, which is what we're focused on right now. So the biggest piece of advice or secret I have is to look at what's working in any market you're in, like hot tub, game room, whatever, right? These are the non-negotiables. If you just do that, you're going to be average eventually. And then what are like the 2 to 3 things that I can add that literally either nobody else has or like less than 5 people have in that entire market? And if I add those things, or the more of those features I add, golf simulator, pickleball court, whatever it is, you name it, create it. That's where you could become really special and create longevity in your investment. So that's like the biggest piece of advice I have.
Love it. Love it.
That wasn't even
Well,
funny.
Mike-
That was some great advice. I thought you were gonna say something funny. You're like, "Oh, you're gonna laugh at this." I'm like, I was waiting.
Well,
for
it's like
something
laugh, like
funny. No, that
Field
was
of
a
Dreams
great
thing.
advice.
You know, if you build it
Yeah.
right. My other theory too is like the Monopoly board. Everyone's familiar with that. How do you win or dominate Monopoly? You probably have Boardwalk or Park Place, and you probably put a hotel on it. So I think about that as like different size properties in a market, and then each of the houses and hotel you put on are professional design, amenity, whatever you want, until it's like the big kahuna. And that's how you eliminate, like, no one else can mess with you in that entire market if you're the Boardwalk with the hotel. And that's where you could charge like $2,000 a night. Right. So if you want to be special, at least whatever piece of the Monopoly board you have, I would rather have a hotel on whatever, the light blue or the brown, even orange, whatever those cards are, versus scrounging up just enough money to get Boardwalk but not having enough to ever build a house on it. Because eventually someone will, and they're going to dominate you. Right. So be unique.
Boom. Love those.
Love that. Well, Mike, thank you for coming on, man. Really appreciate you. And for the listeners out there, make sure to go check out Mike's stuff. He is super transparent with his numbers, and I'm excited to see your next house, because the last one you did was sick. It was so sick. Where was that? In the mountains, North Carolina?
Yeah. It's near Asheville.
Yeah, that property. I gotta book a trip over there. That thing looked amazing. So
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's a fun
appreciate
place.
you coming on, dude. We'll talk soon.
All right, boys. Thanks.
Ciao, guys.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.